Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to invite Minister Furr up to the podium to start us off.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this morning for this important announcement. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that Edmonton is on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional home to Alexander First Nation, Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation, Enoch Cree Nation, Whitefish Lake First Nation, and Paul First Nation. This land also has deep importance for the Métis people of Alberta. I want to thank Minister Turton for joining us today to speak about how the Ministry of Children and Family Services is working hard alongside us and so many ministerial departments to end gender-based violence. Thank you to Roxanne Thiessen, Executive Director at the Saffron Centre, for being here and for all the compassion and support that your centre offers to Albertans fleeing abusive situations, for being a safe haven and offering healing services to survivors. And thank you to Riley Miller, Executive Director of Rise Up Society, for joining us and for your work to create equitable and safe environments for women to join the oil and gas sector. One of my ministry's key initiatives is to break down barriers to women's economic participation, and supporting organizations like yours ensures they will have a safe workplace to flourish in. All Albertans deserve to live a life free from the fear and experience of violence. It is important to recognize the ways gender-based violence affects the lives of so many Albertans, and to make it clear that it has no place in Alberta. Gender-based violence of any kind is a deeply traumatic experience, one that can shatter lives and leave lasting scars. It is disheartening to know that it continues to impact Albertans. As Minister of Arts, Culture and Status of Women, the work to end gender-based violence is very important to me. And I am proud of the work we are continuing to do across government, and grateful for the opportunity to join you today as we reaffirm our commitment to supporting survivors in Alberta, ensuring their voices are heard and their needs are met. And to make it clear that we will not tolerate gender-based violence in any form, and we will work together to stop it from happening to any more Albertans. As we have engaged with survivors, Indigenous women, experts, and organizations that are on the ground to develop Alberta's 10-year strategy to end gender-based violence, we have heard clearly that preventing violence from occurring in the first place must be part of the solution, and that we cannot wait for the strategy to be fully in place before we take action. That's why our government has invested $2 million in grant funding to support frontline organizations across the province that are implementing prevention strategies so that we can end the violence before it starts. This is in addition to the millions invested across government in the last year into actions and initiatives aimed at ending gender-based violence and supporting survivors, because it will take effort from all Albertans to end gender-based violence. One of the main pillars to end gender-based violence is prevention. That is why we developed the Gender-Based Violence Prevention Grant, to target the root causes of gender-based violence and to stop it before it occurs. With the $2 million announced today, we are directing funds to support 11 critical frontline organizations that are implementing prevention strategies across our province. The grant focuses on primary prevention projects, which means they focus on changing environmental factors and social norms known to contribute to gender-based violence, while also promoting healthy relationships, consent, and fostering safer spaces and strong communities. This grant will support Albertans across the province through prevention programs in schools, workplaces, and rural areas. I want to share a few stories of the work being done so far. Calgary Centre for Sexuality Society is one of the recipients of the Prevention Grant, and with that, they are working to implement CultureWise, an initiative to expand the delivery of gender-based youth programs through ethno-cultural expertise to advance the prevention of gender-based violence within Black, immigrant, refugee, and newcomer communities. This community-driven initiative is changing how gender-based violence is perceived and in turn prevented within ethno-cultural communities. It will directly impact nearly 1,000 Albertans. Another example of the work being done across the province is the Camrose Women's Shelter Society initiative to prevent gender-based violence in rural communities. With this grant funding, the Society will implement the East Central Alberta Gender-Based Violence Prevention Program in schools, local sports teams, local businesses, and police services in the East Central Alberta area. They will also work to reach underserved and at-risk communities through outreach and social services to prevent gender-based violence. Approximately 600 Albertans in rural communities will directly benefit from this initiative. This is all in addition to a number of other important programs carried out by the recipients of this grant that are working to prevent gender-based violence and support survivors in every corner of our province. By supporting these initiatives, we are making strides in the fight to end gender-based violence and to ensure that all Albertans live free from the fear and experience of violence. I am proud of this new prevention funding, as it is an important piece of the collaborative approach government is taking to end gender-based violence. And as I mentioned earlier, our government is investing millions annually to programs and initiatives that focus on ending gender-based violence and supporting survivors. Just this past year, Alberta's government invested $4 million in annual grant funding to support Indigenous-led projects and initiatives to prevent violence and increase the safety and economic security of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit Plus people. Alberta's government is also investing another $9.7 million over the next 3 years to target elder abuse prevention and provide supports for elders across the province that are survivors of elder abuse. As well, $625,000 was directed to working with post-secondary institutions to provide supports and advance gender-based violence prevention efforts on campuses across Alberta. $1 million was invested last year into the Rural Sexual Assault Support Program to increase training opportunities for rural healthcare providers to administer sexual assault evidence kit exams in rural communities. By supporting training programs and initiatives to enhance the skills of rural healthcare providers to provide comprehensive sexual assault care, we are ensuring that survivors receive the support they deserve regardless of where they live in our province. We recognize that we all need to work together to end gender-based violence, and we will continue our cross-government efforts to end the cycle of violence and support survivors by giving them the help they need when and where they need it. Working together means educating ourselves about gender-based violence, knowing the risks and signs of violence, taking action to prevent it, and supporting survivors. But our commitment doesn't end there. No one should have to feel scared or unsafe in their homes or their communities. We need to target the root causes of this debilitating societal issue. That is why we're developing the Made in Alberta 10-year strategy to end gender-based violence and support survivors. This strategy will help us identify and fill gaps in services and coordinate our efforts across government. We have undertaken a comprehensive and intensive engagement across the province with a variety of community stakeholders, service providers, and First Nation, Indigenous, and Métis communities to inform our Made in Alberta strategy. What we are hearing is that this strategy will make a difference in the lives of many Albertans. It is important to emphasize the need for us to collectively work together to put an end to gender-based violence. So, as we make this important announcement during Sexual Violence Awareness Month, let us join in solidarity with survivors and give them the support that they need to heal. It will take every one of us working together in every corner of our province to end gender-based violence. Thank you for being here today, and I will now pass the mic over to my colleague, Minister Turvey.
Well, thank you so much, Minister Fern. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here and for tuning in. We all have a role to play in ending gender-based violence. It doesn't have a simple, easy solution, and that's exactly why it's so important. As Minister Fern said, that we don't wait to take action, and we aren't. Children and Family Services is proud to be a partner ministry focused on supporting survivors and investing in prevention. Nearly half of Albertans, 1.8 million, have experienced some form of sexual violence in their lifetime, and women are 2 times more likely than men to experience sexual abuse. And that's why I recently announced that our government is delivering on our promise to provide sexual assault centers an additional $10 million over 3 years. To ensure survivors have access to the compassionate care and support that they need, no matter where they are on their healing journey. We've also committed an additional $10 million for women's shelters to help stabilize capacity and support innovative programs and services. And our work doesn't just end there. With funds through the National Action Plan to End Gender-Based Violence, Children and Family Services launched the Prevention of Family Violence campaign. This campaign, and you'll see the posters next to me, is aimed at increasing awareness of the Family Violence Info Line, as well as the supports we have for survivors, their loved ones, and those struggling with abusive behaviors who want to change. A First Nations college said that their students held a sharing circle to talk about the campaign. Some groups plan to use a video testimonial in their men's counseling, which features a man who got help with ending his cycle of violence through government-funded programming. I know the $2 million in grant funding being announced today will help provide a more fulsome approach to ending gender-based violence before it even starts, because the recipients, including sexual assault centers, women's shelters, and organizations supporting First Nations women, children, and two-spirited people, are already doing amazing work in the violence prevention and support sector. I'm so proud of the collaborative work that we are doing across the province to end gender-based violence, and I'm confident that it will make a difference because we share the same goal of creating a future where every Albertan is able to live without fear of violence. Thank you again to Minister Furr for your work and leadership and collaboration on this issue, and I believe today's funding announcement shows that we're serious about our government's work to end gender-based violence. And now I'd like to invite Roxanne Thiessen to the podium.
Good morning. My name is Roxanne Thiessen. I'm the Executive Director of Saffron Centre, a charity working to support the healing and empowerment of those who have been affected by sexual violence. It is an honor to be here today to share with you how this funding will further Saffron teal ribbon I'm wearing. It is Sexual Violence Awareness Month in May, and I wear it to show my support for all those who've experienced sexual violence. Saffron Centre is based in Sherwood Park and has a satellite office in St. Albert. We've been serving Strathcona County and the Greater Edmonton region for almost 25 years. As a sexual assault centre, we offer comprehensive programs which include counselling, police and court support, and prevention-based education and training. Our counselling program is available for children as young as 4 years of age, youth, adults, and seniors, and we support their unique healing journey. Through counselling and therapy, clients find their strength and journey back to healing. Our police and court program supports those who are considering or have reported the violence perpetrated against them to police. We walk alongside survivors, providing information, support, and advocacy throughout the criminal justice process. And our education and training programs cover topics such as boundaries, consent, healthy relationships, and internet safety. It's available for youth, children, and adults as well. We really believe strongly in the importance of prevention through education, awareness, and advocacy. Gender-based violence impacts every person in our community, with almost 1 in 2 Albertans experiencing sexual violence at some point in their life. Someone you know has lived with the fear and trauma it has caused. It disproportionately affects women and girls, as well as many marginalized communities, such as Indigenous people, those living with disabilities, and gender and sexually diverse individuals. But this violence is not inevitable. It can be prevented. And being here today gives me hope that we will continue to work together to end this violence. This investment from the Government of Alberta demonstrates a strong commitment to working together to end gender-based violence. And we are honored to be a part of this initiative, which will allow us to expand upon our work by focusing on prevention strategies with youth. Through this project, we'll be working with youth-serving agencies in our region and engaging with young people directly. We'll be fostering safer spaces with schools through outreach collaborations with family resource networks, as well as increasing our rural and urban community and school education initiatives. At Saffron, we witness firsthand the incredible strength and courage of survivors. We believe that everyone deserves to live free from fear and trauma and violence, which is why this government's commitment is so important. On behalf of Saffron Centre, thank you to Minister Furr and Minister Turton and the Government of Alberta for tangibly supporting this vision of ending gender-based violence. We can stand together, we can advocate for change, we can support survivors, and we can create a world together where everyone feels safe and respected. Thank you. I'd like to invite Riley Miller, Executive Director from Rise Up Society, Alberta, to share a few words.
Good morning. I would like to thank the Alberta government for the invitation to speak this morning. My name is Riley Miller, and I'm the Executive Director of Rise Up Society Alberta. Rise Up is a charity that provides counseling to those impacted by intimate partner violence. We also aim to be proactive in ending that violence by educating and spreading awareness about this pervasive issue that impacts all Albertans. It is a charity that provides counseling to those that are impacted by this type of violence. At Rise Up, we are a small but mighty team that currently provides direct service to Edmonton and its surrounding areas. We believe that services for those impacted by violence should be accessible and affordable, and we continue to make that happen. We do this by providing counseling over the phone, virtually, and in person with little to no cost, as we know that many people are limited financially during these times. According to the Council of Alberta Women's Shelters, domestic violence is at a 10-year high in our province. Specifically, there were 59,000 calls for help within a year. We want to be able to answer all those calls for help, whether it's for counseling support or for getting someone connected to other resources that they need. It's important to note that even though gender-based violence heavily impacts the person the violence is inflicted upon, its effects are also systemic. It impacts everyone. Many of the clients we serve express that impact that surpasses them. It often impacts their children, friends, and their broader network of support. Due to the high demand for services for those experiencing gender-based violence, it even impacts the amount of resources that are available to them. If we put an end to gender-based violence, we would not only be lifting up the survivor, but also those that they touch. That is why the focus and attention from the Alberta government regarding this is appreciated and a lifeline for some. As the leader of Rise Up, I'm very grateful to have been invited to represent our agency here today. It is reassuring to see the Alberta government investing in gender-based violence prevention. This will allow agencies like Rise Up to do the frontline and preventative work needed to see change. With these funds, our agency will be focusing on a project that extends our support and psychoeducation to communities in the oil and gas industry. This project intends to identify the unique risks of gender-based violence in our energy-driven province so that beyond support, future services can extend in more rural areas. I would like to thank the Alberta government and Minister Furr for this announcement today and for the recognition that gender-based violence is a worthy cause to be prioritized. These funds will enable agencies to do meaningful work and hopefully will make strides so that one day there will be no calls left to answer. Thank you, and I will pass it on to Press Secretary Garrett Kohler.
Thank you very much. I'll go to the floor for questions first. Seeing none. Anyone on the line, operator?
There are no questions in the queue at this time.
All right, well, with that being said, let's have one big round of applause for our ministers and our stakeholders today. Thank you very much.